Welcome back to this episode of the More Alive podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Crowder, and I have a really special question that came in from my community that I wanted to answer through podcast episodes. So somebody messaged in and she said, I'm tortured to stay or go in my marriage. How to know? I've tried both and neither feel good. First, I want to say that I have so much love and compassion for the space that you're in right now, because making a decision like this, I don't believe should be made lightly. And I do believe is one of the most difficult decisions that we can ever make. There's so much emotion tied up in completing something that started generally from tremendous love. So I just want to say I honor the space that you're in right now. I know it's really hard. It is a hard thing that you're going through. I know for me, when I was in this space, I'm so grateful that I surrounded myself with other people that, number one, could support my process of what it was going to take for me to be able to make a decision like this. And it wasn't quick. It wasn't easy. I think it took me a while to actually get to the decision where it was final. But once I knew it, I couldn't unknow it. And so I want to say my personal experience, I can only speak to you from my personal experience here, is that when I knew it, I knew it. I wasn't still wondering. There was a long season of, I don't know. What I needed to do was I needed to recognize the fears of both. And so what I would recommend if I were in a place like this and I just didn't know which option to take, here's what I would do if I were to consult a client who's just having a really hard time making such a significant decision. There was a little nuance about the question that you asked and the way that you asked it. And you said, I've tried both and neither feel good. So let's start with, it doesn't feel good either way. You're right. What I would do is I would sit down and I would write it out. And this isn't a pros and cons list. This is a cost benefit list, because there will be a cost and a benefit to either path that you take. There's no right. There's no wrong. The only one that I see for you, that I know for you, that I love for you, is for you to just have the courage to move from your heart, not based off of what other people are saying, not based off of the fear that might be going on. And I will say, it will not feel good to do. It won't feel good to stay until it does, unless there's work being done to repair harmony within the marriage. That's hard. It has its own sets of pain and challenge, and it won't feel good to do. It almost felt for me like I had to rip an old piece of my identity away in order for me to be able to do that. I had to recreate my own identity, my own sense of self. Now, I don't know the details of your marriage. I don't know how long you've been together. We were together since I was, I met him when I was 19. And so we were together until my late 30s for a really, really long time. But what I would do is I would just make a list and I would write at the top 2 columns, cost, benefit. And I would do it for both cost and benefit, long-term of immediate cost and benefit, and then long-term, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years. Do it for yourself. Include your kids if you have kids. What are the costs and the benefits? I didn't necessarily make a list, but the thing that helped me was I realized what it was costing both of us. It wasn't just costing me by staying in this relationship. It was costing him and it was costing our kids. So even though I didn't sit down and make a list, sometimes our mind just needs to see it out on paper for us to be able to be like, fuck, okay, I know my path now, or at least my path right now. I don't know which one is the right one for you. It might be the path is that there's too much of a cost to walk away right now, and there is more benefit to stay. It's just going to require some pain of moving through to restore harmony. Now, one of the things that I would consider is, are we both willing to put equal effort into doing that? Look, we were both putting equal effort into trying to restore harmony And I might have said then, like, I'm trying harder because my whole world was like around personal development and I was more willing. And I'm like, I'm reading the books, I'm doing the things, I'm journaling. Like, I have enough hindsight now where I can look back and I can be like, we both fucking truly gave it everything that we had. So we were willing to try. It's just that the ingredients that we were bringing together was creating the same recipe over and over and over. And we were unsuccessful at infusing new ingredients in order to change the recipe. If you looked at this purely like a scientist, like I know this is hard when we're talking about love because there's so much deep emotion around it. But if you just zoom out and like think about somebody else for just a minute and just be like, okay, if I'm going to witness these if I'm going to witness two 4-year-olds try to bake a cake, right? And they're like coming together, they're having fun. Sometimes they get mad at each other and they like put all these ingredients together. They put it into the oven and then the oven results in a flat cake. And then they did it over and over and over, but they're using the same ingredients. You would easily say to them, guys, you missed the flour. Like, it's not going to rise. You're not going to get the moist, happy cake that you're looking for. Like, we need a new ingredient. Or, hey, you put 6 teaspoons of clove in here. Of course, it tastes awful. It's inedible, right? So like there might be too much of one ingredient. There might be not enough of another ingredient or all together coming together. It's just the ingredients that this one has plus the ingredients that this one have don't actually make a cake at all. But yet they were suffering the fact that bringing them together doesn't make a cake. You would look at these 4-year-olds and you'd be like, you guys are so cute. You're so silly. And you would say, like, guys, like the recipe for this cake, neither of you have it. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to stop right here where we are. Everybody goes home with their mom. Everybody goes home here and home here. And then when we're ready to make a cake, we come back as long as we have the right ingredients. That's easy to apply that level of logic to 2 4-year-olds and actual ingredients to bake a cake because that's how we're trained to look at science when it comes to cooking. Cooking, you might say it's an art, but like there is a science to it. I know I tried to make cookies one time, forgot the flour. It was a hard ass shitty cookie. And so science is science. There's some critical ingredients here that are needed in order to get a certain outcome. But we don't look at love like that. And it is still like that. As a human being right now at the age of 42 years old, I have a specific amount of ingredients that I'm holding where I'm at today. And that has to do with my genetics. It has to do with my conditioning. It has to do with external conditions, internal conditions, everything that has come together that is creating this physical experience 42 years into a human life that I would describe to as me, my life, Andrea, is a combination of very specific exact ingredients. If I want a different outcome in life, I've got to switch up an ingredient. Otherwise, I'm going to repeat the same pattern and pattern over and over. Now, in relationship, I just recorded another podcast, and in the podcast I was talking about a conversation that Keith and I had where it like turned into, I was like a little bit frustrated. I didn't know why I was having a big emotion. Once I looked into it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have this ingredient that I've been holding in my body since the age of 4 that as soon as he like says something, he said something to me about like dinner. He's like, oh, you didn't already start making dinner? And instantly I was just like, don't you see how hard I've been working? And like the story came up and I was like, I've been working. He's like, I know, but you said you were going to make dinner. And I got mad and I was like, fine, I'll drop everything and I'll like go into the kitchen and I'll make food right now. And he's like, what the fuck just happened? And this morning, before I came to record this episode today, I sat there as like, my daughter was doing my makeup and I'm like talking to her and I'm like, this ingredient feels really fucking familiar. I remember getting mad about this shit with your dad for 20 years. And I was like, how long have I had this ingredient? And I sat with it and I like put my hand on my heart. I got really present and I just felt that feeling again of like being mad of like, don't you see me? And I remembered it. And I just asked my body and in its perfect wisdom and intelligence, I just said, how old is this sensation? And instantly I knew. I was like 4 years old. And I was like, now I know how to do this for myself. I pulled the ingredient, tossed it in the trash, alchemized it, turned shit into yellow flowers in my brain, like metaphorically speaking. Like somebody might take manure and like turn it into compost and create like beautiful vegetation. That's exactly what I did in my brain in a matter of minutes. Texted Keith and I was like, trigger's gone. Sorry, honey. Now it can be different with him in this intimate relationship because the ingredient that was creating the friction that deeply, deeply, deeply preceded my relationship with him is gone. It couldn't have been different before. It can now because I changed the ingredient makeup. That is my human experience, not me. I'm always Andrea. Andrea is soul. Andrea is love. Andrea is God in human form. I am just a component of the same way I birth a part of me and I created two children. Like God took a piece of God and was just like, here's my makeup, poof, human form. Like, it's like, that's my understanding of it. That's what I like. That it makes sense for me. I'm just like, okay, I'm like God having a human experience. And some of the experience is I maybe wasn't so nice to the person that I loved the most last night. Am I hard on myself for that? No, I had a deeply lodged anger. Like I apologized for afterwards. So it's like I was able to move the emotion. But then next step is figure out where I have what ingredient caused that in the first place. Because I'm telling you, the way this emotion took me, I didn't choose that emotion. That emotion chose me in a second. It flew up into my chest and words flew out of my mouth. I had no idea what I was saying. I caught up with it after it had already occurred. I know we've all had moments like that. And the only way that he's like, I just want you to promise me that like next time you'll slow down. And I'm like, I'm not going to make a promise I can't keep. What I need to do is go figure out what ingredient caused that in the first place. And then I can make you the promise. Here we are. I remember so many times, like my ex-husband would be like, I promise I'm going to be better at this. And I'm like, you said you would. And I just thought like willpower was enough. I just thought if he loved me, it would be enough. It had nothing to do with his capacity for love for me. It had to do with his inability to understand what was even happening to him at a psychological and physical level in the first place. He had no idea where all these little ingredients that he had collected from the time that he was in his mother's womb all the time to like that present moment where I was just like, if you love me enough, we can fix this. And he's like, I do, I'm going to do it. But then didn't. And then I was mad because I was just like, I thought love could heal it. I thought love would be enough. There's one thing I can say without a doubt with my whole soul, I know this in my whole heart, was my 20-year marriage didn't end because we didn't have enough love for each other. It was because we had the wrong ingredients in order to make the thing that we were trying to make. And neither of us knew it. I say all the time, and I can't say it enough, the most successful people, I usually say the most successful woman on this planet, most successful women on this planet aren't going to be the ones who are the prettiest, who are going to be the smartest, who are going to be the most resourced, who are going to like any of that stuff. It's going to be the woman who understands how to make herself move and then how to make other people move too. I didn't know for so long what was creating that like spark. I can literally see myself in at least 3 different places in the house that like my marriage ended in where I was just like, don't you see me? The same exact way that I felt just last night with my new man. And I was just like, oh, this ingredient is so decrepit. It's so fucking decrepit. It precedes him. And I was aware enough. I understood what was going on enough to know that I couldn't make him the promise that he wanted me to make, which is that I wouldn't fly off the handle like that again. I now can. I now know that there's no emotional charge in my body around it of like, don't you see me? I can't feel it. I can't feel the charge. I'm telling you, every day before this morning, instantly I can think of all the times my ex-husband or like I thought he was making me feel that way. I don't know when this occurred. Like I have no idea what it was. Somewhere around the age of 4, I have no idea what the circumstances were. Like didn't need to know any of that. I didn't have to like go forgive someone. Like nobody had to be forgiven. I just gave my mind the right ingredients for the sake of continuing the analogy or the metaphor. I gave my mind the right ingredients to close that old loop, to shut the tab so it's not causing energy. And so it's not like using all of those resources towards something old that happened at 4. That's like big trauma, little trauma. All that means is just like a part of our mind is still thinking that event is occurring and it wants us to get it to stop. That anger flooded me in my body at 42 years old just last night in order to get me to make the event at 4 to have not been so then. I'm not 4 anymore. I can't do that. I don't know who it was with. There's nothing there for me to do. My mind just didn't know that yet. I gave it a new directive. This is what I'm saying. Like, you guys don't need to learn how to be receptive. You guys don't need to learn how to expand yourself more. You guys don't need to learn how to receive more money. All you need to do is clear the old shit that says it's not safe. The natural byproduct of that is more love can flood in. I can receive my man more. I can receive his love. I can feel his love. I can feel his support. I can actually let him give it to me. I can not make him suffer for me feeling like it's not being so. Like, so I feel like this whole episode is to say that, like, I don't know what ingredients that you two have. My question is play it out. Like, do you have the capacity to change them fast enough to where it won't cost you guys deeply for too much longer in the future? I won't promise Keith that I will be with him for forever. I will promise him that I will be with him for as long as that there is a benefit, energetic, emotional benefit outweighs the cost. If we can maintain a balance of our ingredients to where we can keep coming back together cleanly from love, with reverence, from purity, from devotion, consistently, to where it seals fractures of harmony, perfect. We can make this work. But I won't do that to myself or to him if it's coming at too great of a cost for a version of ourselves and our family members in the future. I just happen to be in a relationship with a man who is just equally as devoted to ready to learn, do, and understand anything to change the ingredients in present day. So like, we have to start with willingness. Like, maybe I don't understand yet. Am I willing? Am I willing to see things differently? Am I willing to change interpretations of how I thought the world worked? Not because I'm wanting to say that how I think about things are true, but maybe this might be more useful in order for us to bridge the harmony and to create the structure and the peace so that we can be more together, so we can expand and be happier and have a sense of safety and trust. The one thing that I can say right now is like, I don't have a perfect relationship. Like, I'm a human being, he's a human being, but like, we're devoted to getting rid of decrepit old ingredients as quickly as we can fucking choke them out, dump them out, metaphor them out, therapy them out, like whatever, legend AI them out. Like, man, the way that I like hopped into my car. And first of all, I had to acknowledge, I'm like, the old me would have driven away. Like, the old me was a runner. She's like, fuck this. I'm not going to handle this shit. And she was just like, bye. Right. Like, and I just sat in the car and I didn't even leave the driveway. And I'm like, honey, I'm like so proud of myself. Like, I was like, number one, giving myself a little bit of credit. And number two, I sat there and I was just like, I actually just turned the voicemail up on for like 4 minutes. And I'm like, here's everything that happened to Legend. And Legend pulled it all out and helped me reinterpret it. Here's what I want to say about like, when you guys are seeking to understand, most of the time what we want is that we want to feel understood. But I'm telling you guys, true alchemy is when you're willing to ask the question, but now I understand myself. Now can I understand him too? Because even though I was like using my own AI assistant to be able to do this for myself, I was asking him like, okay, you just told me all the reasons that you know that I'm upset about this. And she helps give me so much clarity really, really fast. And I was like, now help me to understand this from his point of view. And then she's like, okay, this is what might be going on with him. And then I was like, and now what do I need to know to understand this for us to be able to come back together from our divine masculine and our divine feminine energy? And she's like, here's what you need to know about the masculine and the feminine. And then I went back back inside. And then I bridged a new conversation from that place that ended in sobbing and tears and I love you and I'm so sorry I was an asshole, and then crying even harder because I'm like, and I didn't run. I'm so proud of myself for not running. And I'm so grateful for the safety of a man that doesn't make me want to in the first place. Like so many, I'm like, gonna not cry like right now just talking about it, but this isn't an easy decision. There's so much complexity to this experience, to the history of your relationship. I know that like looking back on my 20-year marriage, like I look back and I'm like, we had so much buildup that we were never removing through our entire relationship, that in order to like restore that and come back together, like it would have taken so much. And I realized we can still have each other and love each other, just like our relationship can't be this anymore. And I'm so grateful. We both now live these like beautiful lives, and he's gone off and like building an amazing life for himself and his partner, and I have this amazing life for myself and my partner, and like our daughter loves everyone, and just or like our kids do. Like, my kids go up and they hug Keith. My son walked up, and when he was having a hard time, and like my 22-year-old like young man was just like crying and really having a hard time, and he looked at Keith and he's like, "Can I have a hug?" And Keith just sat there and held him like heart to heart and just like held space for my kid. And I'm just like, oh, it's so rich now on the other side of me choosing, me just saying, me just being willing to have the balls and say, number one, I'm willing to choose the path that has the greatest chance of success in life. On the other side of it is like, what decision has the most life? This podcast is called the More Alive Podcast. Simply speaking, if you play out both journeys from start to finish, like a month from now, 2 months from now, 10 months from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, which one makes you feel more alive? Which one makes you feel less? Like there's answers there. And the answers aren't in, will you feel more alive to do it? Either way, you won't. Either way, it's hard. Either way, you have to meet old pains and then figure out what to do with them. That is this is the human experience, because we're all in relationship. We're in relationship with money. We're in relationship with our partner. We're in relationship with our business, with our kids, with our body, with our hair, we're in relationship with our car. We're in relationship with society. We're in relationship with how we're perceived. We're in relationship with disappointment. People ask me, somebody asked me a question. Let me go back and look and see what that was. She said, how do I overcome the limiting expectations others have for me and allow my full worth? This doesn't actually have to do, I think, as much with worth or even others. And what it has to do with the first layer here, the deepest layer and the most significant layer that will move the needle the most, is her relationship with disappointment. Like, am I willing to feel the emotion of visibly watching other people be disappointed? And like, what do I make that mean? Or like, what's the meaning that's already occurring in my mind? And how do I shift that meaning? And like, am I willing to rebridge and recreate a new relationship with disappointment? Our whole life, the human experience is our relationship with this, and this, and learning how to reinterpret it in a way where it can like create deeper connection. And for me, like the answer was like, we have greater possibility of deeper connection on the other side of our relationship being as co-parents, not as lovers anymore. And that was great. Keith and I, on the other hand, like we have a different set of ingredients, totally different set of ingredients that we're working with. And it's creating greater possibility to like hold deep connection. It's like, it's the standards. It's the only thing that I'm available for. I wouldn't be in a relationship with somebody who isn't willing to meet me there. Like my standard is high as fuck there. I met so many like wonderful men along the way. Nobody was willing to hold that standard of like keeping our relationship clean and honest, staying in the presence of honesty, even if there's discomfort. Nobody was more willing to do that than Keith. That's how I knew I was like, you are my man. Like, you are my man. I know it in my whole soul. I know that like he will be my partner through the end, because I know that he's willing I know that he's devoted to doing the thing that keeps us in deep love and reverence. I don't believe that love has to dwindle. I don't believe our attraction for each other has to dwindle. I understand why it has. I understand why that's most people's experience. I don't believe that it has to. When you have two people that are like, oh, the only reason that our attraction has dwindled was because this ingredient got in the way. Let's get rid of it. I understand I like make that sound easier than it is. This is the hardest experience of life. It's like it's experiencing life through our emotional state, but that's what we came here for. That is like the greatest thing about it, because when you do it, when you have that, when it's like genuine and deep in love, and you're just like, wow, I worked hard for this. At the end of that like disagreement that we had last night, he just held me as I like was crying, and I'm like, I didn't run, and I love you, and I'm so grateful. And he's just like, we're so much closer now. He always says that whenever I cry. He like loves it. He's like, he has a Cancer rising, guys. He like loves it. He's just like, we're so much closer now. And it's just like, it gets better. It can get better. But I don't know. I feel like I hope that supported you in making that decision. I hope that supported you in at least having the tools to make the decision. I don't care if you might be listening today and you're like, I'm not trying to figure out if I need to stay in my relationship with my partner, but maybe I'm trying to figure out if I stay in this relationship with my business or my business partner or this friendship or whatever. Same process, same exact tools, same timeline. Like it wouldn't be any different. I love you. I know I'll get a DM from you once you decide. And I deeply appreciate the fact that you were willing to ask this question, because there are so many women who have been wanting to, and they haven't. And this episode exists for them because of you. So thank you, my friend. I won't mention your name. And also, if you guys heard this episode and you're like, I know exactly who needs to hear this right now, please share this with a friend. You might want to listen to it with a partner, because this isn't about like one person's right, one person's wrong, one person's not doing their part. It's like, you just don't understand the ingredients that are creating this recipe together. And once we do, we can have a little bit more compassion for each other. And it might be that you guys are able to make that decision together. Like, where's the greatest benefit for us, for our future, for our family, for everyone surrounding us? And I wish that for you. I hope that for you. I see that for you. And I love you. Thank you.